Fiona sent in a design and she also sent in her notes, and I'm starting with her notes first because there are a few things in them. And she starts off that she's not 100% pleased, nowhere near 100% pleased with her digitising for this challenge. But she is pleased that she's at long last finished one of the challenges and feels comfortable enough to send it in for the review. So, I'm going to take this opportunity now to say this to everybody. Comfort has nothing to do with it. I don't get any feedback. Nobody writes in and says, I need help with this or that or t'other. Well, when I say nobody does, I get the occasional letter saying they want help with this, that or the other. I never see your designs. And I quickly copped on the only way I was going to see your designs was to set challenges. And I also knew it would be the more confident people that would send their work in. And even though I could still help the confident people, the people I really needed to help were the ones that lacked the confidence. And no matter how many times I say it, and I really mean it, I don't care how awful you think a design is. I can't help you progress if I don't see your work. And it pains me to think that you're there in your workrooms, or wherever it is that you digitise, and you've got this problem, and you don't know how to solve it, and you're too scared to send your design in and say, please help. That's the whole idea behind the group. Help. Help, support and encouragement. And I can't give any of that unless I know what type of help it is you need, what type of support it is you need, and what type of encouragement you need. And I can only do that when I see your work. So all of you, not just Fiona, everybody, if you don't send me in designs, I cannot look and analyse the areas I believe that you need help in. I'm giving myself a whole stack of extra work by asking for more and more designs. But I'm hoping I'm going to get to the point where I have enough designs come in and I can see common areas. I can then make sets of videos to deal with those common areas. Everybody gets either an extra bit of consolidation because they've already mastered something, or a hand because they haven't mastered something yet, but the video set is showing them a way to master it. Now, I can't do that without your help. I'm not a clairvoyant. I'm not a mind reader. I don't have secret little cameras installed in your working areas. I'd love to have that, and every now and again going, oi, what do you think you're doing there? That's a no-no. Come on, try doing so-and-so, so-and-so. But I can't do that. Okay, now she goes on, fingers crossed she's going to retain the knowledge that she's going to get from this. Oops. Well, you just had a little lecture, so remember all the points of the lecture. I apologise for not doing 3 layers of stitching in all areas. You didn't have to. I'm going to say to you, don't do another stitch out, because what I'm going to suggest to you, you're probably going to hate me. I'm going to suggest to you that you do it again, but with new eyes. I don't mean go and get yourself a pair of glasses, but you'll see what I mean. So now I'm going to look. Now there was one more thing here. And this is something also I want to address with the whole group. Fiona has written, it has not been a quick challenge. I have spent hours on making and throwing out swatches. Right. I would whip your legs with a birch cane. You never throw away your swatches. Start yourself a resource folder. Keep your swatches. Keep your test stitchings. Write on them or attach them to paper. Glue them on, sellotape them on, whatever. And make notes. You used fill number so-and-so, density so-and-so, stitch type so-and-so, fabric was so-and-so, stabilizer was so-and-so. Keep them. A resource folder is one of the best things going. You can't maintain everything inside your head. You do, even if you don't realise it. But digging those memories out when you need to doesn't happen. So you have to have an aide-memoire, and that's your resource folder. So stop throwing away swatches. Don't know when they're going to come in handy for a start. I have done 3 full stitch outs and several partial ones, and had several glitches with my 350E machine and my Hemingworth threads. Now, I don't know Hemingworth threads. I've heard of them, I've never used them, I don't own them. And you go on to say, a beautiful thread to work with, but a terror for twisting and jamming in the threading mechanism. In that case, Fiona, it is not a beautiful thread to work with. Okay? It's a pain in the neck. Now, I don't know how you deliver your thread to your machine. If you're using the horizontal spool pin, and as far as I can remember from pictures I've seen of the Hemingworth thread, it is cross-wound, which means it has to feed from the top. The feed passage from the horizontal spool pin to the needle is not long enough. And if it comes off too quickly, it will escape the tension plates. It'll jump out of the take-up arm. It'll cause bird's nests underneath. If it gets hung up, it'll snap and it'll cause all kinds of problems inside the take-up arm area. If you've got an independent thread stand that stands to one side of your machine, towards the back on the left, and it's got the telescopic arm, and you lift the thread straight up, you put it through the independent thread guide arm, and then you feed it through the threading channel, that allows any spooling thread to drop down to your tabletop. Also allows any twist that's in the thread to untwist. It makes it easier for the machine to carry it through the thread channel, down through the needle and stitch. If, however, it still messes up and you're using an independent thread stand with the telescopic arm, or the tall centre arm that lifts it up, the thread still twists and jams, it's no good. It's not a beautiful thread. A beautiful thread does not cause problems with your machine. Try another brand. Don't rush out and buy a whole supply of it. Just buy a couple and run them through. Try a black, because black is notorious because of the dyeing. That's for rayon. If it's polyester, it's not such a problem. The dye is actually injected while it's still a liquid mass. So try polyester threads. They've got a bit of stretch in them, but nothing to annoy a domestic single needle machine. But try the independent thread stand first. And if it does keep twisting and jamming in the threading mechanism, you've got to ditch it, sweetheart, because it's not a beautiful thread to work with. It's a pain in the neck. I've got Kingstar thread, and I love it. It's beautiful thread. But my new Janome 9900 loathes it. If you look in my album, my photo album, you'll see chewed up thread. That's what my 99000 does to it. My industrial machine adores it. My sewing machine quite likes it. But my 9900, when it's embroidering, does not like that thread. Doesn't matter what I do to it. It shreds it. It splits it. Literally tears it apart. And I know my first couple of pieces that I tried stitching on the machine, I felt like chucking the machine out the window. It's not the machine's fault. It was my fault. I insisted on using this particular thread because I love it, and the machine didn't. So I put my Madeira Polyneon on my machine, and it purrs like a pussycat. I don't get thread breaks. I get the odd jump out of the take-up hoop, the take-up arm. I just put a net over the cone of thread to slow it down a bit. Anyways, let's get to your design because I'm talking too much. Okay, when I first opened this up, Fiona, I saw this and I thought, brilliant. She zoned everything off. I don't know if you posterized it, because I think one of the photographs in the album showed a posterized image. And it's not always a good idea. Was this it? This has been posterized. I wouldn't have done that, darling. I know it makes it easy to identify where you've got light shades and dark shades, but it also causes problems. And one of those problems is it's got rid of all the back detail. Now, I don't know if that's part of the sky or the landscape, and I'm pretty good at reading photographs. I'm not certain what this is. I don't know why we've got this sudden dark line. You see, when you posterize a photograph, it all depends on what method you use. And I think this one has taken too much out of the original picture. So let's just close that. And then I look at this, and I'm looking at this back here, and I can see you've got a delineator there. So that tells me, yeah, there was something in the background there. But I can't clearly see it. And it's very, very pale. And I don't know what this is, unless it's that area of dark there. Well, with so little information in the sky, I wouldn't have bothered putting the sky in. I just left it blank. Now, I looked at this. You've got the most wonderful, warm, very muted gold, greeny gold. And I look at your colour palette, and it's very limited, and I can see a gold. I can also see, it's called honey butter. I don't know, as I say, I don't know the Hemingway colours. And I see this winter rose, but I don't see it here. I don't see the gold or the pink here. Now, this was a perfect spot for that gold. Because when I look at your design, where are these areas gone? That one and that one. They're not there. They've disappeared. You've gone to all the trouble to map the areas, and then you haven't used them. This warm colour was perfect foil for this even warmer clump of woodland. Because I can see, even though this is very faint, that those are trees. And I think the tree line is up there. That's the start of the wood, there. So that's land rising up to the tree line. And there's the tree line there. So the tree line is here, rising up a bit, dipping down, and then we don't know where it goes because of this branch here. But I don't see it in your design, and that's a shame. Now, you've talked about moving a dark bit to one side and the other on this. You've mapped in your really dark area, and it only exists here. There's nowhere else in your picture that dark. That's almost jet black. There's small pieces in here, nearly jet black, up here. And you've got a small patch there. Only that's not jet black, that's brown, very deep brown. But it's not here. Every one of you has gone for large areas, and that wasn't what I wanted you all to do. These hills here, I wonder, can I slide that in underneath? Hide the stitches. Right. Gold. And I don't like your tree. It's actually two trees, and you've made it into a lollipop tree. And then there's trees here. Bring the stitches back on. Highlight it. I asked for gold. 130. And I don't want travel on edge, thank you very much. Pink for stink. That's better. No underlay. Hide the stitches. This area back here, very, very, very pale. And yet you've given it exactly the same tonal value as you gave to this and to that. You see? It's darker in here, but I can't see this beautiful gold honey colour here. And that's such a shame, because it is a lovely colour to break this up. You talk about putting some of this in. Yes, I agree. Not individual leaves. Let's take a look. Turn off stitching. Right. I'm a great believer in doing clumpy lumpy bits. Oh, go away. Highlight that and go and pick up your dark colour. So I've got a great big dark piece here, and I wouldn't normally do a whole branch like this. I would do small little segments. I don't know if you saw my line drawing of St. Peter's and the trees I did in that. It didn't take long. Oh, what have I done? I hit the wrong button. Oh, that was dark green. I didn't want dark green. I wanted a dark colour. Okay. No underlay. 2, 1.3. Don't want you to travel on edge, so go away. Right. Change the angle of fill. Where's the end point? There's the end point. No, I'll leave it where it was, because any whippy lines in there are going to look like branches. Your travel line, get rid of the stitches, bring them back. No, thank you. Okay, there's the angle of fill. Hide the stitches, bring them back. No underlay. Did that have an underlay in it? Yes, it did. Go away. 2, 130. Okay, and it went straight to travel on edge. And change that to stitch direction. And hide that. And that's gone back to the default. So let's move the image out. Now can you see how the whippy lines can act as branches, and how just by doing small clumps you can build up the effects of leaves, or bunches of leaves, let's put it that way. I actually like using this tool. So I want to put in some leaves. You jumped too far ahead, Maggie. Radial, no pattern, fill stitch, weave, 2, 130. No. Take out the underlay. Now I go to this, and I say to that, and I miss the middle. There we go. And I layer up shapes like that, because the direction is moving. Right, let me undo all that I've done in here. Now, I want you to look at your picture again with a fresh eye. You've gone to all that work and you haven't used it. I also want you to look at, and I want the photograph back out from underneath, the colours. Yellow, green. There's not a sign of it. Everything is grey. Yellow green. A slightly richer green. Now I don't know if that's the love tree or this is love tree. Don't know. You've got colours in here. You've got tans and browns. And then you've got the added interest of foliage. But it's not all one clump. It's small areas. Then you've got a lovely little strip of earth colour coming through there, with the green floating on top of it. But you haven't shown it. This is all woodland. Again, you haven't shown it. You've given me this bright green. Now you've got bright green here, and you've got that there. And you've got this dirty great shadow and no reason for it, because you didn't put the tree in. So if the tree doesn't exist, you won't have this dirty great big shadow, because all this dappled light is caused by this tree. In the roof of your barn, you've got magenta. There's no magenta in there. You've got lovely shapes. That looks like, not being funny, a pickle fork, a sauce spreader, a fork, a handle, a blade, another handle and a blade, and a knife. And that looks like a woman and a bloke. But you've got no magenta in here. You've got no colour there. You've got magenta in the walls. Okay, so it's under other colours, but you haven't got it here. Your palette's too restricted. You're not digitising what you are seeing. Up under here, that shadow is only under the edge of the roof there. It's not casting a very big shadow on the gable end. You didn't put the window in. The window would have broken that up, and you'd have had the tension between the dark colour and the lighter colour. And you can do it all with loose density fills. So I want you to look again at what you've done here. You made a brilliant job of segmenting that whole thing up to give you your main areas. And then I want you to digitise what you've done here. And don't do it in great big long strips. Don't do big long hills, big long meadows. Now you know the undershading works because it worked here. But then you used it with this silvery colour. You get detail in the foreground, and to get depth, you need clever use of colour going away. And the further you get away, the less detail there is. And as I said, if there's nothing in the sky, don't bother putting the sky in. I'm to blame. I didn't explain. I didn't give you a set of videos showing how to do colour blending. But I've done so much on colour blending now. We've done flower designs where we've blended colours with loose densities. We've done the bottle, which was loose densities and colour blending. We've done, I'm trying to think of the other things we've done. We did the bird, and we did colour blending in that. And it's all the same. You put a Florentine in here, you didn't need it. It's as flat as a mill pond, dead flat. And it's got some reflection down into the water. I think maybe that's what you wanted this to give, only it's not worked. You don't need the feathering there. You only feather when you're going to blend colours underneath. Like you want to blend the magenta into the brown. So you put your magenta, you put your brown, you feather your edges so as they cross over one another. And that gives you the transition between the magenta and the brown. Right, I have now talked for hours. My ears are hurting because my microphone is a headset one and it clips onto my ears. So I'm going to finish here. I want you to watch the other videos. There is one in particular, it will probably be at the end, where I show a colour grid. I've asked the group now 2 or 3 times during the lifetime of the group to do colour grids, and nobody does them. And the hoary old excuse is, it's a waste of stabiliser, it's a waste of fabric, it's a waste of thread. No, it isn't. It's all part of the learning process. I'm going to move on to the next video, Fiona.